Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today. And I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, which has kind of a long name, a new way to understand your EMF health risk and your meter. Despite the inelegance of the name, this is actually a webinar I'm pretty excited about. It's been one I've been waiting a long time to give you because I do have a special announcement. But first, let's cover the outline. As you'll see, so we'll start with an intro. That'll be super quick, just give another minute or so for people to show up. Then I'll spend about 10 minutes talking about the problem that I'm trying to help solve. And then I will talk about the solution that I am here to announce today. And again, this is not a product presentation. It's not about a new blog post or a video. This is a new thing that I am releasing tonight to you. And it's going to be here in this webinar. And then, of course, we'll get into Q&A. As you'll see, just from this outline, the part where I'm presenting is going to be a lot shorter than most of my webinars, so we'll definitely have time for Q&A. If you do have questions, please remember to put them into the Q&A pod, not into the chat pod. If you post them in the chat pod, I probably won't see them. So, okay, intro, like I said, it'll be really quick. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is R Blank. I am the CEO of Shield Your Body. I am also the host of the Healthier Tech podcast, available on all major podcasting platforms. Previously served on the faculty at the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering. And along with my father, Dr. Martin Blank, I co-authored Overpowered, one of the best-selling books on the topic of EMF and health. And this all follows a 20-year career in software engineering. Okay, so now that you all know who I am, let's get into the meat of the topic. The thing I'm going to announce to you today is a solution to a problem. So first, let me talk about that problem. If you're attending this webinar or watching the recording of it later, then you already know that EMF is harmful. We've known this for decades. And now, here in 2021, there are thousands and thousands of studies into this question and tons of high quality peer-reviewed science demonstrating negative health effects resulting from exposure to EMF radiation. Now, while our knowledge of EMF health effects is already large and still growing, unfortunately, so are our exposures. It's been happening for over a century. In fact, I've spent the past few months talking a lot about the most recent manifestation of this with the Internet of Things, or IoT, where everything in our lives becomes a new source of EMF. It's no longer cell phones and Wi-Fi, or not just cell phones and Wi-Fi, but now it's smart TVs, smart watches, smart thermostats, smart fridges, and 5G networks and satellites to power all of these devices' ability to communicate. And each year brings greater and greater exposures from more and more sources. One reason this is allowed to persist, that most people don't notice or worry about it, is that EMF is invisible. And not only is it invisible, it's also odorless and tasteless. You can't touch or feel it. So it's almost impossible to know how much you're exposed to, how much of it surrounds you and your loved ones. Now, I say almost impossible because it's not actually impossible. You can see how much EMF is in your environment with EMF meters, which is why I'm such a big proponent of learning how to test. You can buy a decent meter starting from around $160 and test in your environment, at home, at work, at your kid's school, anywhere you want, and you can see what the exposures are. And I want to emphasize how important I think this is. If you care about EMF, then getting a decent meter and learning how to test is super important. And if you haven't already, you can download my free guide on testing. It includes meter recommendations, usage instructions, exposure limits, all from the URL you see on this screen here. That's shieldyourbody.com/test. But even though I firmly believe in the importance of testing, there is a big gap here. The units are meaningless to almost everyone. Depending on your meter and what setting you have it on, it might give you readings in things like Gauss, or volts per meter, or milliwatt per centimeter squared, or microtesla, or others. And we have no idea what these are. For most people, we'll never have seen or even heard of these units up until the moment we're looking at our meter. So yes, you can look at a chart like the one you see here on this slide from the Building Biology Institute, to see if your reading is high or low. And that is important information, don't get me wrong, but that's about all an average person can do with a meter. So the problem is, how can we make meter measurements more meaningful to more people, more understandable? And while we're at it, how can we make the science more accessible to people? I mean, people like me keep telling people like you, there are thousands of studies into this topic. And sure, I can write posts to try to explain some of that, but how can we actually make the science more meaningful to you, to your lives, to your environment, to your personal EMF exposure? Well, there are no easier quick fixes. This is, after all, complex stuff. But that's the problem I've tried to address. And today I'm here to talk to you about one solution that SYB has created. Now, before showing you the solution, let's think for a moment. What would it mean to make meter measurements more understandable? After all, most people like you, and me, don't really want to understand these units in the way a student of physics would, or a student of electrical engineering needs to, right? We're looking for something else to understand. People like you and me who are interested in EMF enough to go out and buy a meter and learn how to use it, we're all interested in having a better understanding of our health risks from these exposures. Recall, as I mentioned at the top, there is a huge collection of science into this question, huge. So the solution, the thing that would really help people better understand their meter readings, would be to more strongly link those meter readings to the science. But what could that look like? And that brings me to the special announcement. I told you this would be quick. Tonight, I'm pleased for all of you here to become the first people in the world to learn about the SYB EMF Health Effects app. Now, first thing I'll say is this is a web app. It means you load it into a browser, just like a website. You can do it on a computer, on a phone, on a tablet, but you don't need to download and install this on your phone. Just visit shieldyourbody.com/FX in any browser and you can use it. So what does it do? Well, when you type in that URL and you visit the app, you'll see this screen. It'll look a little different if you're visiting on mobile. At the top of the screen, you'll see a few small buttons with links to explain a bit more about the app. And then also a few other buttons to make it easy to share this app on social media or an email. And I would ask all of you to please do so to help us get the word out. Then you'll see some controls. The first is measurement unit. By default, it's set to Gauss, which is fine if you're trying to look up based on readings in Gauss. But if your meter is reporting results in other units, then you'll just click on that square where it says Gauss, and you'll see a whole bunch of options for units that you can search in. One cool part about this is the app will actually automatically convert the units if they are convertible. So for instance, if you enter Gauss, the app will also search results in Tesla. And if you enter milliwatts per centimeter squared, it'll also search results for microwatts per meter squared. The app will do all of that conversion for you, so you don't need to worry about it. So select whichever units you want to search for. Next, enter the actual level under the reading. So here in this screenshot, we see the 4. And then what you would do, and that's, so in this screenshot, we'd be searching for 4 Gauss, and then we click Get Results. Then you'll see a list of studies with exposures at or below the level you entered. The list shows some key information about the study, namely the title, the topic, and what exposure showed the effects. Now, in that list, you can then click on any study, and then you'll get a page with additional details about that study, broken down into the various parts of the abstract to be more easily understood. So that includes the conclusions, the authors, the citation, the problem that they were investigating, all the information that we could get out of the abstract. And then there's a button up here called View Study, and that will link you out to the actual study. One other feature we've built in is that when you're doing a search, it will tell you where on the Building Biology Institute guidelines that level is. So if the search you're doing, the Building Biology Institute says is of extreme concern, you'll see that. If it's of moderate concern, you'll see that. If it is of no concern, you'll see that, and so on. So it'll translate your readings into the Building Biology exposure recommendation. Also included are the ICNIRP guidelines. So ICNIRP is the International Committee on Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection. That's what ICNIRP is. And their exposure limits, what they recommend, they are far, far too high, but they are the basis for many, many international regulations. So this app will also tell you if the level you're searching is beyond what ICNIRP says is a recommended exposure level. And while you're using the app, if you have questions about what the units mean, what they measure, or about testing in general, like what meter to get, just click this button at the top of the app to get your own copy of my free ebook, now in its 6th edition, How to Test EMF for Yourself. It's a great informative guide, chock full of testing tips, meter recommendations, unit explanations, safety limits, and more. I also want to underscore this app is 100% free. You and anyone you know, you can just load the link in a browser and use it to your heart's content. Now, before switching over to questions, let's talk about what's actually included in the app. For this first version, we are working from a collection of studies selected and reviewed by Dr. Henry Lai from his work on the Bioinitiative report. And as you might imagine, getting the data ready for the app is a time-intensive job, right? Because it's not just copying and pasting. We actually have to go through all of these study abstracts and pull out the key information. As of right now, at this moment, there are 587 studies in the app. We're working on more. By next Monday, there will be more in the app, and the week after that, and the week after that. Now, we don't include just any study. For a study to be included, it must report a specific exposure, because that's the whole point, right? To show you what studies are associated with what meter readings, right? So you take a meter reading, and then you can look up the science that's associated with that meter reading. And for that reason, we can only include studies that include a specific exposure in the results. So what does that mean about what's not included? Well, in short, it's studies without specific exposures. But what that means is this app won't tell you your risk of forming certain diseases, especially the more concerning ones like cancer or even infertility. That's because studies that investigate diseases generally don't report specific exposures. They are what are called epidemiological studies that happen out in the real world, not in a lab. They are based on things like behaviors. For instance, how much you use your phone, or where you carry your phone, or location, like you live within 100 meters of a cell tower, or you spend 8 hours a day in a high EMF office, right? So they're based on behavior or location generally. Just like in this table here on this slide, which is one part of the data included in a 2007 Hardell study on tumor risk from cell phones. This is a really important study, but it's not in the app. As you can see, Hardell links the time spent on the cell phone with tumor risk. And so his study showed that the more time you spend on the phone, the greater your tumor risk. But it doesn't report any specific exposures. And in fact, most science into disease uses these same types of methods, similar types of methods. So no, this app cannot tell you what your odds of forming cancer are, or any other type of disease, because those diseases are outcomes are not studied in the lab. Instead, this app focuses on specific biological effects, demonstrable in a lab, based on specific exposures that are reported in the study. So the studies in there now are focused on things like melatonin production, or the effects on DNA, or on oxidative stress, and so forth. And so that is the new SYB EMF Health Effects app. And this webinar is the first time I am showing it to the world. So you are the first to know. Now, this is just the first version. It isn't even really version 1. It is more of a public beta. It doesn't perfectly solve the problem I've laid out, but I do think it's a real start. And it's a unique approach to helping people understand their meters more and making some of the vast body of science on EMF and health more accessible to you. I hope you find value in this app. And if you do, I really would ask you to please share it far and wide. And if you have suggestions, ideas, or thoughts on other features we could incorporate, please let me know. Because like I said, this is just a first release beta. I think there's a lot more an app like this could do to be helpful. And so I want to hear your ideas of what that looks like. You all know how to reach me. You can even just reply to the webinar confirmation that you got, because that'll go straight to me. And with that, I will take any questions you might have. Just give me 1 second here. Just switch screens. Okay. Anonymous asked, do you have closed captions? If so, please enable them. We can't do that in real time, but we do generally do that in the archive that'll be posted. So by tomorrow, the recording of this will be posted to YouTube. That'll be youtube.com/shieldYourBody. And we try to put closed captioning in all of our recordings there. Thank you. David says, this is pretty sweet, Art. Thank you, David. I appreciate the positive feedback. We've been working pretty hard on it. It's actually, at some other point, I'll go into the history of it, but this is an idea for this actually is older than SYB itself. This was something similar to this was the first thing I really wanted to do before what I ended up creating SYB in its place. So thank you very much. I hope you use it and find value in it. Now, there was a question that was submitted in advance here. A couple, okay. How do we raise awareness, especially in the medical communities? Very good question. Not an easy answer. I would say that one thing that you could do is there was a conference earlier this year. Actually, we were a sponsor of it. It's called the EMF Medical Conference. It's not every year, so it was done this year. I don't know if it'll be done next year. And that was designed specifically for speakers to present information and knowledge in a way to appeal to the medical community. So it addressed topics relevant to the medical community. It had established and respected doctors giving a lot of these talks. That entire conference, the archive of that is available. I don't have the URL handy here, but if you email me, I'll happily share that with you. That is a fantastic place to start. Also, I hope a resource like this can contribute to that process, because the science that we're including in here is high quality science. And it's a way, it's one thing to say there are thousands and thousands of these studies out there. It's another to actually make it easily available and accessible to people, and to relate it to readings they can see on a meter in a way that you can't just do that by searching on Google Scholar or something like that. But yeah, email me and I will get you information on the EMF Medical Conference. Okay, let's see. Martin also says fantastic app will be. Thank you so much, Martin. The positive feedback does mean a lot. Like I said, we've been working hard on it, and we've also been working hard on making the site better so that the more people who hit the app, it still runs well. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Sherry, I'm sorry if it's Sherry or Cherie is asking, could you have a list of example EMF readings on your app? For instance, what's an average EMF for phone, TV, car, Wi-Fi, computer? That is related to an idea already on my wish list, but I am going to actually copy that and paste it in my idea doc right now. Yes, something like that would be possible. And I think it's a really good idea. So I just put that in my notes. Thank you very much. That's a great suggestion. I forget whose question David. So Dina asked a question about raising awareness to medical communities. David just posted that in the Q&A pod. I don't know if everyone can see that, so I'm going to paste it here in the chat. It is emfconference21.com. Thank you, David. Okay, Celeste asks, this is not about testing, but I'm going to start at home 10 hours a day on the computer. I'm looking for some lighter colored blue light glasses. Which glasses do you like? Well, everyone's going to think it's this question was a plant. Actually, I like the SYB blue light glasses. They are clear all day, daytime glasses. You probably haven't seen them on the site yet because we haven't published it, but we are about to start taking pre-orders on that. That'll probably be on the website by next week. So I would for daytime blue light glasses, I would recommend ours. For nighttime blue light glasses, you can one brand I have a good opinion of is True Dark. So thank you, Celeste. Let's see. So another question that was submitted in advance. I'm not going to have a great answer for this one here, but I just found out that we have an electrical substation less than a quarter mile from our house. What can we do to protect ourselves? So that's a really long answer. And we actually do have some information on that. Hold on, if you would, 1 second. I just have to find the link if I can. I have to load this up. Boy, Google Sheets can really take a long time, especially when you're keeping a webinar waiting for an answer. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to take up any more time here. We do have a post about that I need to find the link for, which I can do and send it. If you email me, again, just reply to the Zoom emails that you got about this webinar, I will send you that link. But the part that I would say that relates to this webinar is, as a first step, before even investigating how to protect your home, because at that point you're talking about whole home protection. That was the post I was gonna look for you. Before even doing that, I would strongly recommend that you purchase a meter. So that's what I've been talking about in this whole webinar, is getting a meter. If you go to shieldyourbody.com/test, you can download the ebook. There's meter recommendations in there. I don't make or sell meters myself. I just recommend others. They are not affiliate links. I don't make money off of the recommendations. There's just ones in there that I recommend. And then take tests in your home. Focus on where you spend the most time, like in your bed, or if you have children in their bedroom, or if you have a home office in the home office. Find out what the levels are. The fact that there is a substation that close to your house, it could be a significant source. It could also be less than you think. There could be higher sources coming from within your house that you have more control over. So always as a first step, especially before doing something like trying to figure out a way to protect your whole house, always as a first step, I strongly recommend buying a reasonable quality meter and learning how to test with it. And then also you can come back to this app and see what the results are. Celeste, thank you. Don, great question. Does the app measure grams Stetzer units for measuring dirty electricity? It does not, nor does it use green wave units. This app doesn't have yet anything on dirty electricity or anything on body voltage. Those are things I want to find a way to cover. It's just those exposures, the specific exposures, really aren't reported. They're not, how do I say this? A substantial body of science reporting specific exposures in those units does not exist so far, at least as far as I've identified. And so that's why we were not able to build in support for dirty electricity or body voltage in this version. It is on the radar. It's not coming anytime soon. because first we need to figure out what a solution would look like. But that is a great question, and it is on our radar. Thank you, Don. Martin, this app will help people with EHS, will bring more awareness. Thank you. I hope so. EHS is a really serious, it's a really serious problem for people who have it. It's a really serious issue for society at large in a way that I think is only just starting to come to light. EHS stands for electrohypersensitivity, for those of you who don't know, and the easiest way to think about it is an allergic reaction to levels of EMF that most of us aren't aware of. And one of the things, if you spend some time going through this app, one of the things I think you'll notice is how much science there is showing biological effects at super low levels, right? The science is painting a picture here that even if we're not aware that our bodies are being impacted by exposure to EMF, that our body is reacting at levels that are really, really, really low, like way below what current safety standards allow. And I do think that that does speak to the issues we are seeing with EHS. Thank you, Martin. So Celeste asks, are we more concerned with RF or EMF when testing? Good question. So EMF stands for electromagnetic field, and it exists on a spectrum of different energies. And RF stands for radio frequency. That is a type of EMF. There's also, on a lot of these meters, the ones I recommend, they're either RF or they are ELF, which stands for extremely low frequency. That's also a type of EMF. So RF comes from wireless communications, also sometimes called microwave. And ELF comes from anything that runs on electricity. So that includes not just your computer, but also your blender and your refrigerator. Certain devices like microwave ovens are sources of both. In terms of the health effects, I think both are pretty significant. I don't think one is more of a risk than the other. We're seeing bioeffects from exposures to all of these. In terms of the deployment of the crazy kind of the rapid, I would say reckless deployment of wireless technologies, that is really a situation about RF. So all of this new smart technology, smart doors and smart thermostats and smart fridges and smart cars and all of this stuff, that would be RF. But in terms of your personal exposure, particularly in your house, both are sets of sources of concern. Thank you. Scott says, what is currently the best good enough consumer meter on the market and where do I purchase? By good enough, I mean very good, not just $1,000. So, okay. So you can't get the guide. That's no problem. So the very best RF meter that is for consumers is called the Safe and Sound, the Safe and Sound Pro 2. So that costs about $385, and you can purchase that from Safe Living Technologies. So that's slt.co. Now that's the very best consumer grade RF meter. There's actually cheaper meters that I also recommend. So there's two in particular that I can remember. One is called the Tri-Field TF2, and the other is called the Cornet ED88T Plus. I know, long name, not easy to say or write down. So that was the Tri-Field TF2 and the Cornet ED88T Plus. Both do RF and ELF. So in one meter. The TF2 costs, I think, it fluctuates, but it's about $160. And the Cornet I mentioned costs about $180. Those are both fantastic meters for the value that you're getting. They're sufficiently accurate. They give you both RF and ELF in the same meter. And those are the ones I would recommend. Thank you. David, thank you for a quick video for this. That's great. I will email you a video I did on this, but it's more of an explainer. And then I'm happy to chat with you about ideas for it. That would be great. Thank you. Betty says, I have a body meter. Is that showing me reading for electric field or magnetic field? Or so I'm not entirely sure which one you're talking about, but, and I should move this over here so it looks like I'm, I can look at the camera while looking at the questions. From what I understand of your question, you actually have a body voltage meter. So that's reporting results in body voltage, which is not electric and it's not magnetic. I touched on that a few minutes ago in my answer to the dirty electricity question, which is body voltage is not currently in this app. And that is because I'm not aware of a substantial body of science linking biological effects to specific body voltages. If you'll hold on one second though, I do have more information about body voltage. So I'm going to paste it here into the pod. And then, so Betty, I just pasted a link into the chat pod. That's where I would point you for more information. Thank you. Okay, Celeste, I live in an apartment and I get everyone's Wi-Fi in my apartment. How can a person deal with that? That is difficult. That gets back to what I was trying to find the post about earlier, which I'm just not able to find the link. I apologize. But at that point, because if you're trying to shield from all of these different sources in your home or your apartment, that becomes really difficult because then you're talking about what I refer to as whole home shielding. And that involves, putting shielding in the walls, doing paint, it involves doing a lot of things, which is A, expensive. And then B, it's also easy to get wrong. And if you do it wrong, it won't protect you. It could even make things worse. We do have information about it though. So if you email me, I will reply to you with that information. The one product we have, and it's actually exactly why we added this product to the catalog. The one product that we have that could help you, it won't help you all day long, but it will help you all night long. And that is the bed canopy. And the bed canopy, I added to the catalog specifically to have a product that could protect you all night long from all those different sources in your environment. So your neighbor's Wi-Fi, nearby cell towers, all these cell phones that are, all these sources of EMF in your environment. The bed canopy can protect you. Again, it's not all day long unless you spend all day in bed, but it would protect you all night long, which is about a third of your life. And it's a very important part of your day because that's when your body is supposed to be resting and rejuvenating for the next day. So you can find that on our website. We actually have 3 different sizes. We have a king, we have a twin, and we have what we call a serenity, which is a lot easier to hang. That would be the one product answer I have to that. But if you want to email me, I will send you that link that I'm having trouble finding right now. Thank you. Okay, I think that about, oh, Erin loves the canopy. Thank you, Erin. I really appreciate that. That I think does it for today. So I said, everyone, this would be a quick webinar, and it was. This is actually the fastest webinar I've ever done. I hope you like the app. If you have ideas, even complaints or ideas for new features, please email me and let me know. This is a beta. I mean, we're not going to be overhauling it tomorrow, but it is something we will be continuing work on. And already there's features in there that weren't originally in the design. It's just when I showed it to the building biology, to a building biologist, they suggested integrating the building biology levels in there. And I thought that was a great idea. So that got added. So we are adding features. So thank you. And if you like it, please do share it. Let's help get the word out. So thank you, everyone. And before signing off, Mary just asked, will there be a replay? Yes, tomorrow it'll be posted to our YouTube channel. So that's youtube.com/shieldYourBody. So all of our webinars are up there, and this one will be up there as well. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Bye.